Hey, it's Follow-Up Friday.
What's up?
Hope you're doing well. If you saw Follow-Up Friday earlier today, we didn't mean to do this, but we talked a lot about cookies, and we learned how messed up Janelle's taste is in cookies.
Chocolate chip cookies.
I'm about to show you what's
Oreos
up.
are nasty.
Double stuffed Oreo.
Take that white thing off.
Double stuffed Oreo.
Scrape it up.
Should I put the whole thing in my mouth? You have to come over here and talk if I do.
Put the whole thing in your mouth.
You have to come over here and talk, though.
No, I don't want to get up. I'm tired.
Do you see what I have to put up with?
They can see me.
Okay, here I go. Come over here and talk.
Nasty. Ugh.
Okay, talk.
So, today is Oreo Day. That was a moron moment. And I said, Oreo? Ew, that's nasty. So the whole first hour was about what is better, Oreo or chocolate chip cookie. No, sorry.
Go ahead.
No,
You won't even eat it?
no. It's nasty.
You see what I have to work with?
And so I was telling Brian, if I'm going to do Oreos, it has to be the thin ones because I think that white stuff in the middle is like a waste. We eat Oreos for the chocolate. Thank you.
The white stuff is a waste?
It is. Like, ugh, it's a lot. That's nasty.
Now you have to question
Chocolate.
your judgment about everything.
Chocolate. Chocolate chip cookies is the way to go. And if it's homemade, I guess even better. As long as I don't have to make it. That's what I was going to say. And our manager brought this for us. He's awesome.
By the way, I got to meet Callie yesterday. Good to meet you, Callie. We were, she was at a MOPS group I was speaking at with Sarah. Fantastic. She got a mug.
Oh, that's cool.
She didn't care about you. She doesn't need to meet you.
Oh,
That's not true. She wants to meet you.
She's from Cleveland Heights.
I'm going to eat another Oreo with double stuff in it.
So we were talking today about questions we wish we would have asked our parents and how sometimes it's too late or they're either because they're sick or because they pass away. We got great texts all throughout, people sharing their story. Somebody said my dad passed of a sudden heart attack when I was only 60. About 10 years later, somehow it came out that he had a terrible accident when he was only in college in which a child ran out in front of his car on Halloween and he hit and killed him.
Oh.
A terrible accident. I could not believe it. I was very close to my dad and he never shared this. Wow. In some ways, I was hurt he didn't share this with me, but also it explains some of his mentality.
Do you see that? Our brokenness often defines us.
Yeah.
And it's by sharing our brokenness that we cultivate intimacy.
But
People got to share this stuff.
But you asked what makes us not share. And then why don't you share? You have stories and you said you don't share with your kids.
What are you calling me out for?
Because you like to be telling people, oh yeah, why don't people share? Okay, tell me, what kind of stories are you sharing with your kids? You better come and tell me, yeah, sit them down and tell them this. You guys.
She's bossy.
No, tell me. So how do you tell your kids? Do you tell them all your stories?
At appropriate times, mostly, yes.
So what stories have you not told them and why?
What are you doing getting
See
all
that?
up in my business?
Oh my tell us. We want to learn.
I haven't told a couple of my kids yet about my wife had an ectopic pregnancy and almost died. I haven't told them about that.
Why?
They don't need to know that yet.
Why not? Seriously, why not?
I don't know. Here's the thing, and this is in defense of people who don't tell stories. You picture everybody's laughing at dinner. Ha, this food's so good. By the way, let me tell you about when your mom almost died, okay, kids? They don't... There's never a convenient time unless someone asks to talk about that kind of story. That's not true. Okay, when's the convenient time to bring it up?
I've shared with my kids as young as, like, the little girls know.
When?
That I lost three...
When?
I had 3 miscarriages.
When?
It could either be, let's say...
during dinner, you went out to eat as a family? You brought it up?
could be during dinner. Sometimes during dinner we'll have devotion or we'll read a story. We always have a family read aloud. Our favorite for women looking, no, just real quick, because this book is amazing. My 10-year-old boy was all about it. It's called The Old Man of the Moon or The Old Man of the Moon. I kept getting it wrong. It's Asian American author. Amazing. But what I'm saying is when you read stories together, read alouds, or the Bible, or you're camping and stories come up, I'm telling you, there are opportunities throughout your day. I've told them. So how did that come up? 3 miscarriages. They know. They talk about it. Those 3 miscarriages are very much a part of our conversation. It comes up. Like, tell
If
me.
only we could all be
Can
more
you
like
please?
Janelle.
No, I'm asking you.
If only we could all be more
Lisa Neville's
like
in the
Janelle.
house. Thank you. You were there. No, were you there? Yeah, you were there when your parents shared their story and you saw the reaction, and it was amazing. So please join the conversation. Jennifer, you're always on point. Dr. Jennifer, can we please help Brian? Brian, you still haven't answered the question. Why not?
I can't. I got a cookie in my mouth.
Oh my gosh. Okay, guys. So tell us, if it's not that, it's Follow-Up Friday, but I really like that discussion we had today. Why is it that people don't share their story? Sara, hola Sara, she's in Ecuador all the time, and she listens. She said, Brian, I had to laugh at your story about your grandma and Pearl Harbor. I read a lot as a child and teen and loved historic fiction. I asked my grandpa one day what the Great Depression was like. He said, how does it sound? It was depressing. I really never asked much after that, but this same grandpa and my dad always took us to see important places from their family history in New England.
What do you think it was like? It was terrible. Oh, that's not an answer. That's hilarious. People do that stuff. Yeah.
And tell them about your grandmother.
Yeah, she can't. She's home with the Lord now, but she didn't remember anything of consequence, in my perception at least. Like, Grandma, what was it like on December 8th when FDR in 1941 came and announced to the country about Pearl Harbor and announced war and all that stuff? She was like, yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah.
And remember, my grandfather was in the military, and they had to relocate because of the war.
Yeah.
You think you'd remember the day you found out that everything's changing, but she didn't remember.
Can you share with people, Jennifer, Callie, they're asking, what is the topic this morning? Just to reiterate, the question.
Oh, yeah. So there was a great Wall Street Journal article. Did we do this in overtime? I don't think we did we?
Yeah, we did.
This
somebody
topic?
called with a question, and then we just went off the question.
Well, yeah, so the questions you wish you'd asked your parents from the Wall Street Journal, really thoughtful piece. And that's where all this came from. But we were talking ultimately today in follow-up about why people don't ask those questions. And I'm not even...
Can you explain? No. Because he's saying why people don't ask those questions. My question is, we're old enough. Why don't we tell our kids our story? All our story. Stuff you've messed up on or where you met or... So why wouldn't you tell your kids? You said you still haven't shared with some of them that Sarah has had an ectopic pregnancy. Why not?
Because it's there's a couple reasons. One of them is the story always makes my wife cry. And it's hard to talk about, and they may not be old enough to understand. I don't know. I don't have a good answer. I want a good answer, but I don't have one.
That should shed light then on you're asking why don't people share? And it's like...
Sometimes memories are hard to share.
In your experience, though, isn't the payoff worth it? Even if you cry in front of them.
There's a role reversal here. Yeah, I think the payoff is worth it. But again, it's difficult. Some stories are hard, okay? They're hard to grasp. They're hard to share. And so there's never a good time when you want to bring it up. So it only comes up when someone asks. Because you just... Oh, by the way, Mom almost died once, and it broke my heart. You know, how was your day at school? It's just not a natural thing to bring up.
Oh my gosh!
You think it is, but
it is natural. There are a lot of opportunities.
Well,
in my experience, it's been I've shared about. Sometimes we're reading a story, we're talking about loss, or maybe there's a friend that struggles. In my case, let's say there's a friend that struggles with infertility. That's a perfect opportunity for me to say, actually, you know, I've had 6 kids, but I lost 3 of the pregnancies. I've shared that story with all my kids. Now, I want to go on what you said. They may not be ready because all 6 of my kids know I had 3 miscarriages. And I don't know if they understand the intensity of the loss, because some of them just walk around saying, oh, so we'll meet our 3 siblings in heaven. And so it would have been 9 of us. And they just talk about it very lightly. And so part of me does wonder, wow, maybe I should have waited to tell them.
Now look at what Jennifer said.
I only share a small portion of my story with my children since my oldest is only 9 and not mature enough to hear some parts of it. Well, okay. Melody says
Maybe you're the one that's doing it all wrong.
maybe
Smarty pants.
hey, Melody. But I want you to define then what is ready.
I don't know. It's hard to define because there isn't a line. I don't think there's an age. There's not a moment. But there are some like mistakes we've all made, some sins we've all committed that you just don't tell a preteen.
Oh yes, yeah. I'm not saying you put it all out there. I've actually
Sounds like you are though, saying you put it all out there. So
No.
you were portraying though that your kids know everything about you, everything.
No, we don't have enough. I mean, we don't have enough time. I said
So
no.
it's a time issue, not a
What
privacy
I
issue.
actually said is for people who pay attention. I said it's organic. It's a relationship. So I'm slowly uncovering myself to my children. So if we're in a field trip and stuff comes up, or we're around the fireplace when we were camping, things came up about Len. It was hilarious. The kids were just cracking up. I don't know how we didn't get kicked out of that campsite. He was telling them stories about stuff he did. He had no business doing. Those scary things that little boys do. And they were like, why you did that? Then they ask more questions. So what I'm saying is it's more organic. And if you deal with it with, I'll share myself with my kids when they're ready. How are you developing transparency from the beginning?
So you've
of
told
course
your
it's
children.
going to feel awkward if at 16 you're like, okay, finally I can tell you about me.
So you've told your children all of your mistakes as a child.
I just said no.
Why not? Why don't you tell them? What are you waiting for?
Right.
What are you waiting
Each
for?
story, it depends. For example,
So now you're defending me then.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine. I'm trying to help you.
You tell them about
feel
that guy you
it.
dated that was in business?
Did they know?
Selling stuff? Tell them about
Selling
that?
what, Brian? Selling what?
Did you tell him?
Gosh. Did I tell him? I think I did. I don't know. I don't
No,
know.
that means no.
I don't know.
So you're all tough talking over there about how you tell your kids everything.
I'm
There
not saying share everything.
So isn't it fascinating that we're both discovering that there's things we haven't shared with our families?
Absolutely.
And yet we're the ones who are advocating that we ought to share stories with our families.
No, don't try to flip it, because what you actually said,
I said
was
we, but
my
you-
kids. Oh no, you didn't say my kids. Kids are just selfish. They don't want to know, so they're not. They don't
It's
care
true.
about me. They care about themselves. And
Kids
I'm
are
telling
selfish.
you, actually, no, they do care.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. And Mary says.
You're there clapping at me?
Mary says, Brian, I can understand how painful it would be to talk about something so near and dear to your heart. On a light-hearted note, though, Janelle is giving you a little taste of your own medicine. Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
thank you,
She
because
is-
he did that this week.
She's mean.
Thank you. No, he did that this week. Annette, I love Annette. She leads or is part of a Toastmasters group. Love Toastmasters. She says, not a big fan for sharing early mistakes with kids. They need a rock, an example, but admit when they see them now, they'll learn repentance. I think in that it depends. For example, yesterday I just shared with my kids something that Len was like, how are you going to tell your kids that you did that? I was showing them a picture of my grandparents, and I told them some stories, and I said, you will not believe what I did when I went over my grandparents' house. And I said, my brother and I did something. We were little. And then she went and got the belt because we needed a spanking. And I started running. We started running. And you do not run from Len. And so he's like, how are you going to tell them you ran? And I was like, because I did. Like, I was a sinner. I told
And they
them.
didn't know. Now they know they can run.
So I said, I ran.
Dad's getting slow.
Then I said, I ran from my grandmother. She's like chasing us with the belt. And then I said, and then she hid behind the corner and then grabbed us and got us. And they were laughing. But then when Len asked, I was like, they need to know I was a sinner. I was all messed up.
Tell them more about that.
That's different. That's different to like sitting down my 8-year-old and saying, you want to hear my struggles with intimacy? So I think they are ready early on
Please
to
don't do
hear.
that. Please don't do that.
But I'm saying you can share your mistakes at age appropriate levels. There was stuff you were doing at 10, 12 years old that you got no business
No,
doing.
I agree, but
that
you were over
could
there trying
share.
to give me a hard time about not telling certain stories to my kids when they're not ready to hear it yet.
No, so I asked, so what's ready? Explain.
You were clapping at me.
I appreciate people being real and transparent.
I'm surprised you didn't snap at me. She snaps at me. You tell them.
Because I got kids.
You're like,
Brad,
get this, Brad.
Eva says, I share things with my daughter that I feel can benefit her in her life. Just to be the example of someone who went through it and made it on the other side. My kids have asked me, Eva, even the younger ones, that I used to talk back to my parents because they get in trouble for doing that all the time. And I was telling them I used to have an attitude as a teen. So I think, yeah, that's cool to share with it does benefit them to share those things.
I think we all wait too long to share their stories, though.
So then what's too long? When are they ready? Please.
Like I said before, time gets away from us. We can agree that they're not ready, per se, at a moment.
For certain things.
And then time goes by and you never told it.
Yeah.
Right? Wouldn't you agree that that's the problem we've experienced today when we're hearing from people? It's that there's certain stories that either don't come up because they're private or whatever, and there's a point at which it would be okay to share it. It's just time goes by, it doesn't come up. And suddenly here you are. Look at you. Somebody asked me about rice pudding. Why are you going to go past that?
Where?
Scroll up.
Callie says she's not ready to tell her kids.
Marcos wants to know if I like rice pudding. No,
what
Marcos.
Is that a Scandinavian?
I don't like nasty stuff. So
is
I
that
don't
a
like
Scandinavian thing?
I don't think so.
We make rice pudding.
Isn't that arroz con leche?
Arroz con leche.
I said it. She always
amazing.
fixes my pronunciation.
Arroz. Melody,
nasty.
I was raised by my mother and grandmother. They both shared a lot. They were open. I heard funny stories and stories about their mistakes that impacted my life decisions. It is important for parents to share as much as they can. It makes them human, and it helps them spiritually. I think that parents should make videos for their children about their growing up, friends, victories, mistakes. I could kick myself that I didn't get my granny or mommy on video because I forget some of the important stories.
That's so true, Melody. Thanks for sharing that.
And I think transparency, I would rather err on the part of saying too much, as you guys have realized.
Wait, you?
With my kids. Well, I know, right? Even here.
Every day, Len is like, what did you just say?
Every day. But I think that transparency, vulnerability is taught early. And I think to be like, oh, when they're teens, then it's awkward. I think if you start young, and there's stuff I've shared with my kids that's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. And
you have that problem.
They slowly figure it out. It's kind of like when you share faith. When you share, like, there's things about faith when you're walking a kid to give his or her life to the Lord. There are concepts they don't get, and they figure it out as they get older. And by the time they're teens, they're like, oh, this makes sense. So even with when I shared with my kids about miscarriage, there are things. Raina's 8. Yeah. There are things about that Raina's like, oh, I got a sibling in heaven. That as a woman, she gets a little older, it will have different meaning. Like, oh my gosh, that was a loss. So sometimes when she laughs about it, she doesn't laugh about the loss. She's like, wow, we have a sibling that we haven't met. I know that it's like, okay, with time, we'll have to revisit this conversation. So I think some things you just have to just put it out there, and then it'll be naturally covered when they're teenagers, Brian. So I would love for you to share the time issue. What other things haven't you shared? Share it with us.
Okay.
No, but actually, one good question that came up during the show was, for those of us who do have our parents here, maybe you guys can suggest some, because some of us do have our parents here. What are some questions that you wish you should ask that we could ask right now? Like, give me one question that you're like, man, ask them this. Somebody said, ask, how did you come to faith in the Lord? What's one question that you're like, I think most people should ask this?
It's the one my dad and my uncle can't answer, how my grandparents met.
Oh, really?
I find those stories interesting and touching.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm eating a lot of these cookies. I gotta stop.
Jennifer says, I think what's ready is when they can hear the story and learn from it and stay away from a similar mistake, and when they can hold those stories as special and not share with their friends or others. That's good. Mike says, my grandfather used to tell so many stories of when he was growing up and his life in the 80s. I videotaped 4 hours of him telling those stories. That's awesome. Callie says, you're braver than me, Janelle. I have made some mistakes in my relationship with my hubby and don't want to tell our boys because worried they will view marriage differently. Callie, actually, my son, who's about to be 17, asked me directly, what mistakes in intimacy have you made before marriage? And
you shoved a cookie in your mouth?
And I was general in my response because I wasn't ready. And then I specifically told him, I'm just sharing my stuff. I'm not sharing that. You want to know from your dad, you ask your dad. And he's the only one that we're approaching because he's in that age and he's my first one and I'm still figuring it out. So I'm not completely brave for the same reason. With his age, I'm trying to approach that one carefully.
And I think people are curious. How did you answer that question?
Oh, y'all want me to tell you? Well, sit down. Yeah, you got scared. It was,
No, trust me, I don't want to know.
Oh my gosh. Robert says, control what you can control. What do you mean by that?
The problem is she's trying to control everything, Robert. That one.
Oh my gosh. Lisa's quiet. Jose shared. I think he thought I was going to tell all my secrets. No, sir. No, I'm just playing, Jose. Melody says, and what my loved one shared was age appropriate. You have to know what kids can handle. I agree. And I've learned, I say the hard way, but my husband says it actually wasn't a mistake. Kids aren't already at the same age to learn about different things. They'll receive things differently.
But that's the problem, again, is that we know there's certain levels at which your kids shouldn't know things. And then time takes hold. And then have you ever forgotten who you told what?
Yeah. My mom, she tells me all her stories and I love them all the time. I know everything. And she retells stories. But I love the way she tells stories, so I don't tell her. And she'll retell them like all the time. So I think it's like you said, you forget and then you'll
I forget who I've told what.
Yeah. In terms of your kids.
Sure, or family or friends. I forget what I tell you all the time.
Yes. Annette says she likes your grandma's story. She said that was a good story. By the way, youth leadership starts June 29th, Brunswick, 2 days a week for 4 weeks. I am going to be contacting you because, I got my kids. They're all awesome public speakers. Some of them a little too much.
Some of them need to be quiet.
Yeah, they need to sit down. Exactly. Tim agrees a child is ready when they are ready. And I think you could tell based on the child. So what do you do if they ask? You tell them? Is that your...
They don't. That's the thing. When they're not ready, they don't even know to ask.
That's true.
You think, one of my kids going to walk up and say, hey, Dad, ectopic pregnancy. Tell me more. They're not
No. That's usually not how it happens. You read about, let's say you're studying reproductive system and they learn about miscarriage. That's an easy question a curious kid can ask.
And I say,
have you guys ever... Oh my God.
I don't say ask your mother. That's not true.
Have you guys ever had a miscarriage? What would you say?
No, we have not had a miscarriage. But we lost a baby to ectopic pregnancy.
And then would you go and take that opportunity and say it?
Sure, but my kids have never asked me that question.
Yeah. Kathy says, my family never talked about past things. I know nothing about my grandparents who died before I was born. I got book of questions and my parents were not cooperative. You said that. Some people even brought up how some family members have been through war and don't want to share anything.
They won't. Yeah.
So what do you think is there?
I don't know, but all I can tell Kathy is that I share some of your pain in that, and that
Yeah.
I've had difficulty getting some information about my family's past. But what I can tell you is that you have the opportunity to change that, to break that cycle. You have the opportunity to say, this silence will end with me.
So how are you, give her practical tips, how are you going to end the cycle?
I'm talking about Kathy. You can record this stuff now for your kids, grandkids, and all
Wow.
that.
Sarah says, Janelle, I agree that sometimes the things we share without a lot of detail with our children when they're younger plants the seeds. That's what it is. For them to have the curiosity, for them to actually ask about it when they are older. Oh, yes. Thank you for putting it in words. Mike, doesn't sharing with our children about our past and explaining about the mistakes made help to enforce their trust in our experience and wisdom? I think so. Jennifer says, now at 17, I would definitely share about those struggles and mistakes. There were so many things my mom shared with my sister and I. My dad shared with the boys, and later I learned his warning were in part stories about him he was sharing with us girls. Lisa says, you know your kids, and when they are ready. It is good to build memories and have that transparency with
So
them.
Lisa basically said, Brian, you're right. You're my favorite.
No! She didn't say that. Lisa, tell him
Lisa's
what's
required
up.
to like
Tell
this one. She's like
She
legally
loves
required.
me. I'm her girl.
I'm her favorite. Lisa Neville's made me a whole pan
Oh my gosh.
of mac and cheese because she loves me. I'm surprised you didn't steal it Because her mother made me pastelitos.
You got issues.
And she took the leftovers. She took them.
Oh my gosh.
Lisa, I'm Lisa's favorite.
My dad always said if a child is ready to ask, they're ready to know. My old was 5 when she read a pregnancy book of mine and asked what a sperm was. And when she asked how the baby would come out, I answered the question in age-appropriate ways. Why the flowers, Brian? Can you please?
Let me tell you about these flowers.
Oh my gosh, without the drama. Just tell him who gave it to us. Oh my goodness.
So we had our dear friends,
dramatic.
Dr. Ron and Anita Morrison,
Oh my goodness.
came in, and because we were at their church service on Sunday, to help present an award. He was the Bold Steps Award winner this year from Moody Bible Institute. Very excited about that. And they brought in some treats, and they brought in these flowers. And Janelle set him down, let him sit right over there. And Janelle was like,
oh my goodness.
wow. But she didn't say this, but it was clear. She was like, these are mine. They got me flowers.
They were on this side, yes.
And she opened the card the next day and found out it's to all of us.
Gosh.
So these are my flowers now.
Wow.
These are my flowers.
Wow.
Not Janelle's.
They love us.
Janelle's keeping all the gifts. Be careful when you send stuff here.
Oh my goodness.
She's going to snatch
Label
it.
them. Label.
She's going to snatch it.
I think a good one is how your parents met. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Thank you, Melody. Sarah, wait, hold on. Lisa, Jennifer, Callie. Oh, that's right, Lisa, because I gave you Raina. That's your baby girl. She said I'm always her favorite, always. That's right, that's my sister.
Lisa.
That's right, Lisa. Love you, girl. You're my
heart
girl.
It's just...
Oh my God.
It's not broken.
What is wrong? What's wrong? Are you okay?
She's required to like you. She has to say that. She got to live with you. She got to look at your face at Thanksgiving or whatever.
Oh my God.
She chooses to enjoy my presence.
You are very emotional and dramatic today. What is right? Look
Just
at
today?
you. Look.
Just today.
Oh my gosh. Look. Oh my gosh, you got issues.
Lisa.
He needs the weekend, y'all.
No, I need Lisa to be honest.
It's true. I gave her
She made me
her
mac and cheese. She made you nothing.
She makes me stuff all the time.
She didn't have to make me, and she has to make you stuff. It's a potluck.
Lisa says, Brian, sometimes it's okay to be second.
No.
Oh!
Lisa, ask your brother about that.
Awesome.
I can guarantee Len Neville's would say.
Jennifer says, I'll send my gift to Janelle. Yeah.
I can guarantee Len Neville's, your brother, Lisa, would say something along the lines of second place is first loser.
Yeah, he don't play second.
So don't give me all the second place business.
Wow. Miss Anita said the flowers are for Janelle and the Amish brownies were for everyone. Oh my God. Yo, this is not your day.
They are for you.
That is,
wow.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Miss Anita. You love me. Oh, these are, Brian.
Wow.
She said it herself. Are you ready for the weekend, Brian? Are you okay?
Oh, gosh, yeah. I'm ready.
Bye, guys. We love you guys. You guys are awesome.
I love you more than she does. Everyone knows that.
Remember Women's Conference, y'all. Spread the word. There are people, telling their women's ministry. Text the word renew. Moody Radio. The same people that brought you Walk Worthy.
Whoa. You see what Len said? Or Lisa said?
Len is the second
child.
Brian, but I do love you. Len is the second
I knew it, Lisa.
Oh, my gosh.
I knew it.
Mike said too late, Lisa.
No, I saw it, Lisa. I knew.
Oh, my goodness.
We'll just keep it between us. We know.
my goodness.
She doesn't need to know all that.
Bye, guys.